hubiera sido muy fácil. Would have been very easy for my parents to say, oye, no le tires tan alto, ya con que termines la high school, vayas al colegio, es bastante. Pero al contrario, ellos dijeron, sí, mijo, con el estudio, si le pegas duro a tu estudio, todo es posible. So, ellos alimentaron el sueño. Y es lo que nosotros como padres, que yo soy su servidor, es padre de 5 niños, es lo que tenemos que hacer, es alimentar los sueños de nuestros hijos, para que ellos sientan el poder, la capacidad de poder lograr cualquier sueño, a lo que se pongan a hacer, que lo puedan lograr. And so what I was just saying right now is that as I was sharing my dream to become an astronaut with my parents, it would have been in their own right to have squished that dream and tell me that I was reaching too high. But on the contrary, in spite of their 3rd grade education, I think they would have made excellent psychologists. They nurtured that dream. They fed that dream, and they told me with a good education, anything's possible. And that's what we have to do as parents, is be able to nurture the dreams of our kids, give them the empowerment, the sense of empowerment, that if they study and set goals and work hard with a good work ethic, any dream is possible. Any dream is possible. Yeah. También recuerdo mucho cuando trabajábamos en el campo. I remember when we worked in the fields, especialmente cuando trabajábamos en el pepino, the cucumber. You know, cargas una cubeta de metal y te pagan a 50 centavos la cubeta de pepino que pisca uno. Pero muchas veces, a lot of times, los surcos están recién regados, ¿verdad? They're recently irrigated, and you're picking them. You pick it, you start in the morning, it's all wet, you get all muddy, tienes pantalón de mezclilla, and están todos tiesos. At the end of the day, están tiesos porque de puro lodo, ¿verdad? Nos reíamos nosotros porque nos los quitábamos en la casa y se paraban solos por tanto lodo que tenían. The Levi's pants would basically stand by themselves, because in the morning when we worked in the fields, we would get all muddy. As the day went on, the sun would bake the mud, and when we took them off, they would be stiff as cardboard. They would stand by themselves when we took them off. We used to get a kick out of that. But I remember as we would get inside the car, los cuatro nosotros que nos íbamos atrás del carro, before my dad would start the car, he would look behind us, and he would say, you know, how do you guys feel? And of course we were dirty, sweaty, tired, muddy, and we said, well, we're tired. And he said, good. He says, remember that feeling. He says, because if you guys don't go to school, this is your future. Otra cosa que también hacían, mi mamá hacía mucho, es que she took a great interest in our education. Cuando llegamos de la escuela, siempre nos sentaba en la cocina, en la mesa de la cocina, a hacer nuestra tarea. Mientras ella torteaba para hacernos algo de comer, allí estábamos haciendo la tarea. En el primer, segundo, tercer grado nos ayudaba, pero ya después del cuarto, quinto, ni papas la entendía ella, pero sí nos tenía allí haciendo la tarea, ¿verdad? Y es también lo que le digo yo a los padres de hoy, es que no basta con nomás decirle a nuestros hijos que hay que hacer la tarea. Y luego el papá, después de un día bien cansado, bien merecido, se quería afuera a tomarse una cerveza con los amigos. La mamá le dice al hijo, corre, haz tu tarea, deja ver Distilando Amor, o no sé qué novela te de onda ahorita, pero dejaría verla. Y entonces, de eso no se trata. Se trata, yo viendo el ejemplo de mis papás, es de que ellos pasaban el tiempo con nosotros. You have to put the time in with the kids. It's not just a matter of saying, kids, do your homework, let me go watch my soap opera, or let me go drink beer with my friends. You have to spend the time with your kids. If you challenge your kids, si los retas, ellos responden, they will respond. And that's what we have to do. We have to get our kids and parents engaged together so that the kids know that it's a partnership with the parents to finish and get a good education. When I was in the second grade, same time I decided that I wanted to be an astronaut after the Apollo landings, I remember another thing happened to us that was very important. And that was when I was in the second grade, November rolled around, and of course, we were getting ready to go to Michoacan. And I'm the youngest of the family, so I told my second grade teacher, que era una chinita, recent graduate from college, and estaba bien alta, but in reality she's real short because I was only in the second grade. Pero era una chinita y le dije que nos íbamos a México, que me diera las 3 o 4 meses de tarea. And of course she knew the routine, ella sabía la rutina. She rolled her eyes and she said, diles a tus papás que voy a ir a tu casa a verlos hoy. And because she had done this for my other brothers when they were in the second grade. And of course I went ahead and ran home that day from school. We lived about a mile and a half. In those times you could walk a mile and a half to school. Nowadays you'll get arrested if you have your kid walk a mile and a half. But we would walk that far. And I remember I told my parents, les dije a mis papás que iba a venir la maestra porque le había dicho que nos diera la tarea de 3 meses porque nos íbamos a México. Y les dije a mi papá, y tienes 2 reacciones muy distintas de los padres, ¿verdad? You get 2 different reactions. Que my dad, lo primero que hace él, se empieza a quitar el cinto porque dice, ¿qué hiciste, muchacho? You know, piensa que es una queja de la maestra que I did something bad, right? And then the other reaction de la mamá, ustedes saben, son mexicanas. ¿Qué crees que es la otra reacción? Hay que limpiar la casa, ¿verdad? Hay que hacer tortillas de harina, hay que hacer de comer porque le vamos a dar de comer a la maestra. So, needless to say, we ate very good that day. Comimos muy rico ese día. And but the whole purpose of it was that the teacher, Mrs. Young, basically asked us to ask my parents que debíamos de plantar raíz en un lugar para darle oportunidad a sus hijos que obtengan una buena educación. She basically read the riot act to my parents and said, you should set root in one place so your kids have a chance to get a good education. She said, I've had all 4 of your kids, they're bright kids, stay in one place so they can go to college. And basically, credit to my parents, they went ahead and followed that advice. En vez de ir 3-4 meses a México, ya empezamos a ir 2 o 3 semanas. Ya no viajábamos de ciudad a ciudad, sino nos empezamos a quedar en Stockton, California, y allí es donde hicimos nuestro hogar, nuestra casa en Stockton, California. Allí terminé la primaria, allí terminé la secundaria, la preparatoria, y luego la Universidad de Pacific, allí es donde me recibí de ingeniero. Terminando mi ingeniería, trabajé en Lawrence Livermore Lab. Supe que para realizar mi sueño de ser astronauta, la competencia era muy difícil. Tenía que obtener estudios posgrado y fui aquí a UC Santa Barbara with my fellow Los Ingenieros. You see that shirt they have there, Los Ingenieros Mesa? I was in that program myself too at UCSB. So muchos saludos a todos de UC Santa Barbara. Exactly. Y luego, once I graduated college, got my graduate degree, I started working at Lawrence Livermore Lab. Y empecé a aplicar para ser astronauta. I started applying to be an astronaut. I needed 5 years experience and at least a bachelor's degree to compete, but I knew I needed an advanced degree if I wanted to be competitive. I went ahead and did that, and I applied year after year after year. It took me 12 years of applying. In other words, they told me no 11 times before I finally got accepted. You know, the last about the 10th year, I came as close as I could to get selected without getting selected. I made it to the final 100 finalists, where these 100 get invited to NASA. You spend a week at NASA, and you get all kinds of physicals. You get poked and prodded, where you can't even imagine you get poked and prodded. And those males over 40 years old know what I'm talking about. And then you get psychological exams, and then you get interviews. Well, out of those 100, about 20% get medically disqualified, so that leaves 80. And then out of those 80, 40 get security background checks. So if you get a security background check, you know you're in the final list. And then out of those 40, they'll select anywhere from 8 to 15 astronauts. Well, this 2 years before I actually did get selected, I made it all the way down to the 40. And then, of course, I did not get selected. Y yo ya haciéndome un poquito ruquillo, ya me estaba haciendo viejo. I was seeing that window of opportunity closing on me to get selected as an astronaut. I was almost ready to throw in the towel, right? And then my wife told me something that I'll never forget. She says, you gotta keep applying. And I said, well, why? What's the use? She says, well, you're close for one thing. If I didn't think you had a chance, I wouldn't tell you. Pero if you eliminate yourself, siempre vas a tener el gusanito adentro de duda. What would have happened? What if? She said. She said, keep applying. Let them eliminate you. Don't eliminate yourself. So the lesson there is perseverance. My 12th year of applying, I of course, before I tell you what happened on the 12th year, let me backtrack in my senior year. What really got me going to becoming an astronaut was in my senior year of high school, I heard news that really rocked my world, if you will. I heard that NASA had selected the first Latino astronaut. And this was Dr. Franklin Chang Diaz. He was a graduate from MIT. Él venía de Costa Rica, costarricense. And I read everything about him when I found out que era Latino. And I saw him in interviews. Y hablaba el inglés con acento, just like me. Talked English with an accent, just like myself. Tenía la piel morenita, just like me. Venía de humble beginnings, just like myself. Venía de una familia muy humilde. He came with $50 to the States and got himself an education, PhD, and got selected as an astronaut. Entonces me dio envidia, pero envidia de la buena. I said, si este vato pudo, ¿por qué yo no? He had all the disadvantages in the world, yet he was able to do it. So I said, why can't I do it? And that's the power of role models. That's the power of role models that we need to show to our kids, to empower them, que realmente sí se puede. Hay gente como ellos, su servidor, que se ven como ellos, más mexicanos, aquí tengo el nopal, no puedo ser, aquí estamos. Y entonces, que vean que uno que vino de familia humilde pudo sobresalir, entonces ellos también van a poder. Y hay que darles el ejemplo, hay que enseñarles el ejemplo de que sí van a poder, ¿verdad? So the 12th year came and I got interviewed y gracias a Dios el año número 12 fue cuando sí fui seleccionado. I made it to the 2004 class of astronauts, the 19th class of astronauts, and got selected as part of 12 individuals for that class. Y el año pasado, realicé mi sueño.